Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Power Play podcast here on our YouTube channel. Today is December 18th, and if you're a Jags fan out there, all one of you, congratulations on your win today. I'm taking the high road. Dallas sucks. I'm taking the high road. Good job.
That was tough.
Yep. Joining me today, we have Trey Trends and Jacob Teats, as always. Guys, let's break down this week. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with the dog of the weekend. Trey, we'll start with you.
I took the Bears. I was hoping the Eagles were going to have a letdown week, and they almost did it to them. The Bears almost won the game. The Eagles were trying to give it to them the whole first half. Jalen Hurts would turn the ball over way more than I think even I expected in this game. It is what it is. The Bears didn't pull it off. Me watching that game, I realized that the Bears have absolutely nobody outside of Justin Fields. But, they have like $150 million in cap space, so maybe they'll get better.
Yep. Teats?
Yeah, my mean greed, they actually almost covered. I know I wasn't super locked in with them, but they looked real good against Boise State up until the end. Just a big third quarter from Boise State just kind of helped separate it a little bit. Then both teams had a touchdown late in the game. It is what it is. We'll get it next week. It's all good.
They did cover that spread. They should have won the game, but
they did cover the spread.
Yeah, Miami,
just not the dog.
Miami also covered the spread. They didn't win the game. The snow got to them late. Too much snow, too cold for Miami. They blew it against the Bills. But let's move on to the podcast parlay.
Do you want to talk about this comment though? I did notice that you weren't wearing a Cowboys jersey.
Yeah, I decided not to wear it because they lost today, and the Jags. I'm taking the high road. Congratulations, Jags fans.
It's in the dryer right now, actually.
Yeah, the one person who's a Jags fan. Congratulations. You guys aren't going to make the playoffs, but you did beat a playoff team, so congratulations today. But we're just going to take the high road. Let's move to the podcast parlay. First off, congratulations, Argentina, for winning the World Cup. That game was awesome. I don't know if you guys watched it. That game was awesome. That is exactly what I want every soccer match to look like. It was an electric factory, but I lost my podcast parlay over on the Eagles game. Eagles won the game, and I lost the over, so it was like a nightmare for me. And Dallas lost today, so good day for me watching football. Trey?
Argentina was a team of destiny. I tried to tell you guys this. I did not expect – what is it, Mbappe? Is that how you pronounce it? I did not expect him to put the team on his freaking back, score a hat trick in the World Cup final. But Messi did what he could. He pulled off the win. It went to PKs. It was, like Bear said, the greatest soccer game that I've ever watched. And it was probably like the third soccer game that I've ever watched. But it was absolutely insane, and I'm glad that – and I hit my end of the bet at least.
Teats?
Yeah, I was really hoping that me talking about Mike Leach last episode, rest in peace, that there would be some reason for Washington State to step up and play a game. And I don't think anyone got off the bus, off the charter jet. I don't think anyone showed up to that game because they got just absolutely decimated by Fresno State. That was a rough game to be looking at.
But all right, Trey won, but we lost. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Good pick today. But let's move on to our weekend bet slips. Teats, I think you're up first.
Yeah, so I had a great weekend, as you can tell. Went 1-4. Washington State, Fresno State, we just talked about it. That was not a fun game to watch. At least I called the Oregon State, Florida game, but I think the entire country could call that. Probably even half of the Gator fans. Cincinnati, Louisville, man, I just decided to pick a whole bunch of blowouts because Cincinnati did not look good and Louisville had a mission. Bengals, Bucks. Going into halftime, the Bengals had like 3 points. Bucks had like 14, 16, something like that. It was looking pretty good. And then 31 points later from the Bengals by themselves, the under was definitely destroyed. I'm never going to take another under again because of that game probably. And last but not least, let's talk about the Colts and Vikings. Let's talk about a 33-point lead blown, but the Vikings could not get a touchdown scored between the fourth quarter overtime to help out my cause. Instead, they settled for a field goal, and I missed it by a half point.
They brought you back from the dead to kill you again. But
yep.
Let's get into my weekend bet slip. I had a winning weekend, but I wanted more. Like always, I always want more. 4-2 on the weekend, hitting Pittsburgh, who I never felt in danger of them not winning. They covered easily. We had Fresno State. Teats said they dominated Wazoo. Oregon State dominating Florida. Florida kicked the saddest field goal I've ever seen in my life with seconds left, or that would have been a shutout. We won the Browns in a disgusting game against Baltimore. And then our 2 losses came from SMU going for 2 instead of the tie. So no OT, where I think we would have won that one. They had all the momentum. I don't know why they didn't go or why they didn't want to go to overtime, but they went for the win. I respect the call. And then the under in the Virginia-Houston game, and I'm never taking it under again, and that's why you don't take unders in sports betting. I'm going to go overs from now on. So 4-2 overall, not the best, but not the worst week. Winning week overall, but we'll move to the next week. Trey, how about your bet slip?
It is what it is. Another 2-2 weekend for me. I promise you guys I'm not trying to do this. This marks 4 weeks in a row of giving out a 2-2 on my weekend bet slip. But the 2 hits were on the city of Houston, so shout out Houston. The NFL, I faded the Chiefs. They have not covered in 6 straight games now, so I'm going to continue to bet them next week, or I guess bet against them. And then I was on Washington State. Like Teats said, we kind of were going on that Mike Leach train. Maybe they were going to, win one for the good old skipper. But Fresno State absolutely dominated, and we should have listened to Jesse. Alabama versus Gonzaga. Gonzaga cannot cover on the road, and they did as soon as I betted against them. That's what I should have knew. Drew Timme dropped almost 40 bomb in that game. But Houston money line versus Virginia. It was at Virginia, so it was really a really scary game to bet on Houston money line, but they pulled it off, so shout out them.
Yeah, not bad. I watched that Gonzaga game, and I think didn't Alabama ended up in like 95 points they gave up or something like that. It was
it looked like an NBA game.
Yeah, it was bad to watch. Let's move on to Monday Night Football picks. We have a bad game, but a good game. Rams versus Packers. Packers are -7. The over/under is 39.5. Trey, I'll start with you.
I'm not a really big fan of how huge this spread is, but every time I think about flipping over to the Rams, I look at the trends, and it reassures me that the right side is the Packers. I'm going to go Packers -6.5, though, because I don't like the 7. I don't like the push. So I'm going to go Packers minus the 6.5 at -125. The Rams are 0-4 ATS in their last 4 meetings in Green Bay. And if you just look at that overall, they are 0-8 ATS in their last 8 games versus the Packers overall. So the Rams don't like playing against the Packers. They definitely don't like playing in Green Bay. So I'm going to go Packers -6.5.
All right, Trey. Well, I'm going to take the Rams +7. Baker looked great against the Raiders. Sure, he didn't do well in the first 3 quarters, but the guy just got to L.A. He didn't know where the locker room was after the game. He had to ask somebody. And honestly, I feel like Baker plays better that way. He did whatever he wanted at OU, and he did whatever he wanted in this game. It was like a kid playing in the backyard, and I think Baker thrives whenever he does that. So I don't think the Rams are going to make it complicated for him, and I'm going to take the Rams +7. I'm going to sprinkle the money line as well. Baker's back, and I like Baker. Teats?
Well, I'm not going to be fully team riding you, but I basically am. I'm taking the Rams +7.5. I'm kind of like Trey. I don't like the idea of tying. We're not here for participation trophies. We're here to win money. So Rams +7.5. I do like Baker. I don't think that Baker is going to be the long-term answer maybe in LA, but maybe he is. He did look pretty good in that 4th quarter. And the Packers are also the type of team that they'll end up, I don't want to say losing, but choking away some games that they should be absolutely in control of. So I think that the Rams, with a little bit new energy, with a whole bunch of misfit players, that's like the perfect thing for Baker to have. So +7.5. Honestly, let's go ahead and throw the over in there too. I want the over. I think that Baker's going to pull some garbage time touchdowns out, even if necessary. Bring it within the 7. Rodgers gets the win, but Rodgers gets the ATSL.
All right, so Rams, and then Trey's on the Packers, and Teats is on the over 39.5. But let's move on to some player props for that game, the Monday Night Football game. Teats, I'll start with you, Packers and Rams players.
So I kind of wanted to note some things. First off, Aaron Donald is out. And I was kind of looking to see what type of player I was wanting to look at. And both teams are actually pretty good against the run. But neither team is really good against the pass. Green Bay better than LA. LA is trash. So if that doesn't give you an idea as to where I'm going with passing and receiving. And specifically, I think we're actually on the screen that give me Aaron Rodgers 1.5 touchdowns. I think that if Baker can keep this game competitive, he's going to have to throw more. I'm fantasy purposes, I need A.J. Dillon to do well. But with the idea that they may not be able to run really well, I'm needing Aaron Rodgers to be chucking the ball down the field. And I think that that's what he's going to plan on doing, hopefully getting out to a quick lead so that they can stay in control of the game. So Rodgers, 1.5 passing touchdowns, 3 out of the last 5. Chicago, Detroit both have pretty Well, Detroit not so much. Chicago has a pretty okay secondary, so it's understandable. The other two will be receivers, and even though one might be a little bit of a name drop, the other one is going to be wild. I'll give you the wild one first. Let's go Tutu Atwell, over 27.5 receiving yards. Or I guess it's 29.5. It's hopped up 2 points since I looked at it. That's just like one pass from Baker. As you can see, he's hit this 3 of the last 4, 0 against Carolina, but that's okay. Dude, the Rams wide receiver core is just so banged up. When Ben Skoranek is essentially your number 1, and Van Jefferson, who just came back from most of the season being gone, is your number 2, or vice versa, you're not in a good spot. So I think Tutu is going to get himself quite a bit of looks out of the slot or out of any sort of screens. I think 30 plus yards is pretty easy for him to get. As long as Baker is able to replicate kind of what he did with the Rams against the Raiders, or what he did with the Browns, not what he did with the Panthers. And then the last one, I'm going to do Christian Watson, over 44.5 receiving yards. He's just kind of been the guy for Rodgers this year. As you can see, he's hit this mark 4 of the last 5, 4 straight. It's been like in every other game for him to go off. So, and very literally, that's hysterical. He's hit 48 yards. The 2 games he didn't go for 100. So, the way that my math works out, he should be going over 100 this game. But if he doesn't, I still think about 50 would be pretty nice.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick at all, Teats. And I'm going to go ahead and go next because I'm going to take one of your props. And I'm only giving out one prop because I'm on a little heater here. I've gotten 6 or 7 in a row straight on YouTube. Knock on wood. But I'm going to go with, you said Tutu Atwell. I'm going with Tutu Atwell. Over 29.5 receiving yards.
Running it back with him because you had him last week, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, and he hit that on the last play of the game. So, actually, no. He had that before, and then I had him to score a touchdown, and he hit that on the last play of the game. But
yeah, there you go.
He hit this number, like Teats said, 3 of the 4 games. Rams don't have Kupp. They don't have Robinson. They don't have any receivers. Someone has to catch the ball. And Baker Mayfield can get the job done. We saw it last game, and he likes Tutu Atwell. He's going to give him plenty of looks, so he's going to easily pick up 30 yards in this game. Trey?
All right, so last week I came at you guys with some weird plays, and they actually hit. So you know what? I'm going to run it back. I'm going to go with the sacks. I'm going to go with the Rams defense under. If you look at it, they are without Donald, like Teats says, and some other key players on their defensive side. Rodgers is known for not taking sacks and getting the ball out quick. We all know that Rodgers hates taking negative plays. He might hate taking negative plays more than anyone in the NFL. So I love this under here at 2.5. I don't think the Rams are going to get 3 sacks. They only average 2 sacks a game. And if you take Aaron Donald out of their defensive line, I think that it's going to be hard for them to get 3. And then I know Teats is going to like this one. I didn't know he was banking on it, but I'm running it with him. A.J. Dillon over on fantasy points. I did not know that Teats needed him for fantasy. You know what? I think that he's going to pay off for him. December is A.J. Dillon season. We've known that since he's came into the league. As you can see, he's been dominating since the weather's gone cold the past 2 weeks, 17.8 and 20.9 points per game. And the Rams are without Donald, like I said, and I think that affects their run defense just as much as it affects their pass defense. So those are my 2 plays, A.J. Dillon over on fantasy points and Rams defense under on sacks.
All right, those are our Monday Night Football player props. Let's move on to some college football bowl games for this week. We're going to start with Monday's game. It's going to be the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Marshall versus UConn. Marshall minus 11.5. Over under is 40.5. I'm going to start. Before I give the pick, UConn has been one of the best turnaround teams of the year this season. They were horrible last year, so shout out Jim Mora. He deserves a ton of credit for getting them to a bowl game this year. With all that said, Thunder and Herd are going to dominate UConn. UConn likes to run the ball. Marshall is the 10th best rushing defense in the country. Marshall's the much better team on both sides of the ball. They do, and special teams. So all 3 aspects of the game, it's Marshall all day, every day. This is going to be a blowout. Trey?
I agree with everything you said until you put the but in there. Give me UConn here. Jim Mora has turned this laughingstock into a bowl-eligible team. And if you look at it, UConn has not had won like 3 games in 3 years before Jim Moore got there. So I'm going to take UConn plus the 11.5. UConn has been great for the Trends here. UConn is 7-1 ATS in their last 8 games overall. They were also 5-0 ATS in their last 5 non-conference games. And if you look at Marshall, they're 0-5 in their last 5 games in December ATS. So Marshall does not finish the season strong. They do not show up in the bowl season the last few years. I'm going to go UConn here plus the 11.5.
Teats?
See, I couldn't get a read on either team, honestly. I did see that and know that UConn has made, even the way that the seasons went, a pretty big turnaround. They've played some pretty tough competition early in the season, and they've actually done a really great job of bouncing back. Should we answer that question first?
No, we could do it after this one.
Okay. So I'm going to stay away from the spread. I'm going to let you guys just kind of be on either side of each other, kind of see that one battle out. I'm going to take the over, though. I know that both teams can definitely put up some points. It seems like Marshall's niche is about 28 points a game, and I've seen UConn score up to 30-some. So I think that 40.5 is a very doable line for this game. And like I said, I'm not taking any more unders from this point on. So give me over 40.5.
Yeah, so we're all on something different in this game, but regardless of what happens, congrats to UConn for the turnaround, but they're going to be dominating this game. Question
from Bear's favorite guy. In your guys' professional opinion, with 1:30 left up 3, 3rd and 6, are you guys making your opponent burn their last time out or throwing a 40-yard pass? Is this a situational question with the Cowboys? Is this why he asked this?
It's what happened, and Dallas threw a 40-yard pass. I
Poor
would have
guy.
punted on 3rd and 6, so the Jags could have won in regulation. So I didn't have to. But that's just my opinion. I'm not doing that. That's James's thing. Hopefully he does. I hope he does do it. It'd be great. But let's move on to Tuesday's College Bowl game, the Idaho Potato Bowl. Eastern Michigan versus San Jose State. San Jose State's minus 3.5. Over under is 53.5. Teats, I'll start with you.
I'm taking the over on this one as well, 53.5. I feel like both offenses have been pretty decent this year at putting up some points. I did not like the spread again. I just can't get a feel for some of these MAC teams. So I didn't really want to take a side, but I think that over is going to be pretty nice. I think that both defenses can definitely allow some points. Both offenses can definitely score some points. So I'm looking for a 30-28 close nail biter game. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, this game's tough for me because, as you guys know, I'm a Maction guy, and Eastern Michigan's in the Maction. But I have to go with San Jose State here. Eastern Michigan likes to run the ball, and San Jose State has a good rush defense. 122.6 yards per game on 3.3 yards per carry. Good. San Jose State just has the better defense, so I'm going to back San Jose State laying the 3.5. Trey?
I've watched a ton of Maction football this year. Shout out Bear for getting me into that. I got baptized in it, and so you would just expect for me to do this and not pick the Maction team. I'm going to go Eastern Michigan plus 3.5, and the trends back me up here. San Jose State is 0-6 ATS in their last 6 games overall. And if you look at Eastern Michigan, they are 4-0-1 ATS in their last 5 games overall. And they're also 5-1 ATS in their last 6 games in December. Eastern Michigan shows up at the end of the season. They're the hotter team right now, so give me Eastern Michigan.
Okay, all three on something different on that game too, but let's move into the last game that we're going to be talking about. It's going to be the Boca Raton Bowl. Raton, sounds right. Liberty versus Toledo, another Maction team. Toledo minus 4.5, over under is 53.5. Trey?
Toledo surprised me I guess not last week, but in the conference championship week, whenever they beat Ohio in the MAC championship. Ohio was without Rourke, who I might be the biggest fan of, so that might have been why they won, but at the end of the day, they still won and surprised me. And Liberty has been a shell of themselves probably the last month of the season, and it didn't get much better whenever Hugh Freeze left them. So I'm going to go Toledo here pretty big in this game. If we've seen anything in the bowl season so far is whenever the teams don't have anything to play for, they just get stomped, as you saw Florida a few days ago, and there's some other examples as well. Toledo is 5-0 ATS in their last 5 games versus independent conference teams. Liberty is 2-5 ATS in their last 7 games overall. I'm going to go Toledo here minus the 4.5.
Yeah, and this could be a team rout, I feel like. Liberty will be without their coach, like you said. That could be major problems in this game. Liberty on defense over the last 3 games has allowed 11 touchdowns and 600 yards on the ground alone. Toledo runs the ball well, 178 yards per game. That's the big difference. Maction, Toledo, minus 4.5, and I'd bet it up to minus 9.5. I might even put an alt slip in, but Teats?
We're going to team ride this one. I'm definitely taking Toledo minus 4.5. Definitely this year has been an introduction to the action for me as well. I did cover Liberties in some articles earlier this year. They looked great at the beginning of the season, and they've kind of just fallen off. And without their head coach, I just don't see them being able to pull together for this game. So Toledo minus 4.5. Yeah, that's really the best play right there.
Team ride in the night. I like that. But that'll do it for our weekend recap. If you guys enjoyed the content, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel below. We'll see you guys next video, and thanks for watching.